Hello, my friends, and welcome to another tale at the time between times with me, Owen Staton. It's May the 15th, 2022. Well, it is here where I am now. If you're listening to this in the future, then that date could be anything. But know this, that this date is 2 days from the day that's significant in the story I'm about to tell. You'll get it. Welcome to the time between times. As I said, I am Owen. I am so glad that you can join me here for another tale traditionally told. So, I hope all is well with you. Sit back, relax. Let us go to the place where tales are told. The fire pit at the heart of the forest. The time between times, the time it's neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey. The time when the veil between our world and the fairy world grows wafer thin. So thin that for a few moments we can reach into their realm. And for a few moments they can reach into ours. Now is the time that people see ghosts. Now is the time that people see lights in the sky. Now is the time of stories. So sit back, my friends, relax. Let the tide of tales wash over you. And join me as we go to Lewes Castle in the southeast of England, back in the 14th century, for the tale of the tragedy of Lady Edona. The 4th Earl of Warenne had been at war with the Lord of Pevensey for many years. And on this day, all those years ago, they arranged to settle their differences with a bout of single combat at the gates of the castle. All for miles around had gathered to see this quarrel finally settled. The 4th Earl de Warenne, dressed in his armour, grabbed his sword and his shield and bade his wife farewell. For he knew the Lord of Pevensey was a great warrior, and he knew that he was probably unlikely to return. As he left, she knelt by her bed and prayed with all her heart to St. Nicholas. He prayed, she prayed and prayed and prayed that her husband would be victorious. Her prayers were greeted with silence until she stood up and turned around. And there in the mirror, she saw a face that was not her own. The face of the saint was looking back at her from beyond the centuries, from beyond the years, and he spoke in a kindly but stern voice. Today, I will grant you the answer to your prayers. Your husband will be victorious. Your husband will slay the Lord of Pevensey. But know this, that your offspring will never have offspring of their own until your son travels to Byzantine and lays his belt upon the altar of the Blessed Mary. Until that day, there will be no further children for the Earls de Warenne. With a nod, he vanished, his reflection being replaced by her own. Suddenly she heard outside the noise of combat, sword against sword, shield against shield, the cheer of people, and she ran to the window. And there she saw her husband in battle with the Earl of Pevensey at the gates of the castle. The crowds cheered, the soldiers clanged their swords against their shields, and the Earl of Pevensey fought with all his might, forcing the Earl of Warenne against the gates of the castle, slamming his sword again and again upon his shield. The Earl of Warenne slipped and went to fall. Suddenly, the Earl of Pevensey lifted his sword to strike a killing blow and stepped forward and slipped, fell forward. The Earl de Warenne saw his chance and brought his sword up and stuck it through the heart of the Earl of Pevensey, who dropped dead, much to the shock of the crowd who had gathered. A great cheer rose up, and victory had been declared. Lady de Warenne thought of the prayers she had just given. Years passed, and her son Manfred de Warenne, was now 21 years old and was due to marry the Lady Edona. The wedding feast, where all had gathered, there in the great hall of Lewes Castle, there was dancing, there were music, there was a great feast. And suddenly, at the stroke of midnight, a peal of thunder roared outside the castle. The sky was lit up by lightning, and all the tapestries on all the walls changed to once again show the single combat outside of Lewes Castle. And then a voice rang out so everyone could hear it. Your vow is unfulfilled. Your vow is unfulfilled. Lady de Warenne told everyone who was present what she had said all those years ago, and the next day a ship was brought, and Manfred kissed the Lady Edona on the cheek and said he would be returned once he had come back from Byzantine, his gold belt placed upon the altar of the Blessed Mary. All the crowd watched him leave as he sailed away. For a full year, Lady Edona stood on the cliffs awaiting the return of the ship, until a full year had passed. And there on the 17th of May, she saw the ship coming over the horizon. She called, and her family and all the people of Lewes Castle gathered to watch it coming into the bay, when suddenly and without warning, it struck some rocks, toppled on its side, and sank beneath the waters. Only one sailor survived, crawled ashore. Everyone else, including the Earl's son, Manfred, were lost at sea. So heartbroken was Lady Edona that she died on the spot. The Earl de Warenne built a church to St. Nicholas overlooking the sea, and there they buried Lady Edona in the churchyard in an elaborate tomb, and there marked upon her tomb are the suggestions of what would happen if you were not to fulfill your vows. The Church of St. Nicholas is still there, the tomb is still there, and many people gather to hear of the story and to find out what had happened. And on the 17th of May, every year, it is said that white ship sails into the bay only to topple over and vanish beneath the waves, just as it did all those years ago. If you stand in the churchyard of St. Nicholas, you have the best view of the ghostly ship that travels into that bay. 2 days from tonight, if you're listening to this on the 15th of May. That, my friends, is the great tale of the tragedy of Lady Edona that happened in the southeast of England all those years ago. I thank you ever so much for joining me here at the Time Between Times once more. Every week, a new traditional tale is told. I also have the podcast, Time Between Times Podcast. Please have a listen to that. I have a gaming channel, Adventures at the Time Between Times. Follow me on Twitter at Owen S. Griffiths. If you're feeling really generous, buy me a coffee at coffee.com/Owen Staton. The world is dark, my friends, but here at the Time Between Times is a place of safety where we can enjoy tales traditionally told. Thank you for joining me. I shall see you again soon. Take care, my friends. No stop.